Hi, this is Matt, and you're listening to Bluegrass Jam Along, the podcast for anyone and everyone who loves bluegrass. Hey everybody, this is your Bluegrass Briefing for Monday, October 16th, 2023. So, what have you got on the podcast at the moment? Well, last week we had the first episode of the Clarence White tribute. Clarence died 50 years ago this year, and I've been talking to people to celebrate his influence and just chat about what is so cool about the playing of Clarence White. Episode 1 came out last week, and that was David Greer and Alan Mundy. I've got another episode coming out on Wednesday, I think, this week. Maybe Thursday, hopefully be out by Wednesday. Part 2 of that is coming with more very cool stuff, including Russ Barenberg and Michael Daves and more people. Also, there's a few more multi-guest things in the pipeline end of this year and early next year. More on those when I get there, but there's some really cool stuff coming and I really enjoy doing these, so I hope you like them. Only other thing is just to let you know that as you listen to the interview episodes, only the longer ones, you will start to hear in the middle somewhere a little ad for Sweet Relief Musicians Fund. Now, they're a great charity who do a huge amount of work looking after musicians who are struggling, and I've given them a slot in all the interview episodes. They don't pay for it. I've just donated it as a space to share that message. I know you don't like having the interviews interrupted by that, but I think it's a worthy thing, and I think if I've got people's attention, I should probably put something useful in there, and so I have. Yes, so that's Sweet Relief. Do go and check out their website, look at the great work they do, and if you feel like supporting them, that would be fantastic. But that is it for podcast news. We're going to move on to Church Street news. And the news this week. Celtic Connections, for all the people over this side of the Atlantic in the UK, their lineup is now announced and tickets are starting to go on sale. There's some amazing stuff. I won't list it all because it's incredible, but it does include Bela Fleck's My Bluegrass Heart tour, which means that is also coming here. It's one of the cool things about Celtic Connections. People come over for that and then they tour as well. So we're going to get to see Bela's tour, which I'm very excited about. We're going to get to see Tim O'Brien as well early next year, which would be cool, and various other bits. But yes, so Celtic Connections lineup is out. Go and check that out. There's a new book out called Oh, Didn't They Ramble? Rounder Records and the Transformation of American Roots Music by David Menconi. There was a talk about this at IBMA while I was there, and I missed it because I was at something else. But this sounds fascinating. Rounder Records, as we all know, massive part of the history of this music, so well worth a look at that. Forewords by Robert Plant. I'm going to get a hold of a copy of that and check that out myself. I haven't read it yet, but that sounds really interesting. Oh, Didn't They Ramble? Rounder Records history. Do go and find that. Next thing is Bryan Sutton's Blue Ridge Guitar Camp. The lineup has been announced for that, the teacher lineup, which includes Jake Workman, Michael Daves, Chris Eldridge, so some familiar faces there, and also I'm delighted to say Charlotte Carrivick, the British guitarist, who I think is fantastic. She's superb, and she will be part of the teaching lineup there as well. If you don't know Charlotte, I did interview her actually a while ago, so I'll stick a link to that in the show notes. You can go back and listen. She's really cool player, and that's really exciting that she's on that as well. And also stick a link in there to Blue Ridge Guitar Camp in general, so you can check out who's on, who's teaching and how to apply for that. So yeah, Bryan Sutton's Blue Ridge Guitar Camp details are out now. And there is also a brand new book of transcriptions for Bela Fleck's My Bluegrass Heart album. Banjo tabs of the whole thing. It looks astonishing. If banjo is your thing and if Bela is your thing, there's a lifetime's work in that, I have no doubt, but that looks like an astonishing thing. There's notes on each track. There's, it looks like a remarkable thing. So if that's your thing, go and check that out. Which means next up is the new releases bit, which we call The Grass is New. First thing, there's a new single by Bronwyn Keith Hines called Can't Live Without Love. And this is her first vocal tune, and it's the first thing off an album that's sort of in the works. And it's a great track, features Sam Bush and Molly Tuttle. Do go and check that out, Bronwyn Keith Hines. Can't Live Without Love. I've added that to the Grass's New playlist. I've also added the second single from Sarah Jarosz's upcoming album, and this song is called Columbus and 89th. That's in the playlist too. Go and have a listen. That is also superb. There's a new record out featuring longtime friend of this podcast, Jake Eddy, called Jake Eddy Meets Victor Furtado. I put a track from that in the playlist too. Go and check that out. Also really cool. There is a record called Listening for Your Call by Orchard Creek Band that I think came out last month and I might have missed. Check that out as well. That's a new album for you to go and listen to. And finally, there's a new track by Danny Roberts called West Virginia Red, instrumental, which is also in the playlist. So yeah, new tracks by Bronwyn Keith Hines, Sarah Jaros, Jake Eddy and Victor Furtado, Orchard Creek Band and Danny Roberts. So lots going on, lots of cool stuff to listen to. That playlist is getting pretty epic, so I think I'll keep it going till the end of the year, and then I'll close it off and start another one. Instead of doing one every week, it felt good to just leave one running, but it'll get massive. So I think we'll switch to a new one at the end of this year. But that is it for the new releases. So next up is Scroll On Buddy, which is just some stuff that I've spotted on social media. And the stuff that I've spotted on social media this week is lots of announcements about Gibson mandolins going into production again. And they have two models of F-style mandolins. One is the F5, a reimagined version, which is kind of they say it's fine-tuned to the needs of modern players. And this is their standard model Gibson F5 mandolin. But there's also something called the 1923 F5 Master Model Reissue. And this is a reproduction, essentially, of those classic Lloyd Law era F5s. And it says they made these using 3D scans, scientific analysis, and Lloyd Law's original production notes. I'm sure there'll be a lot of fuss about those. Be interesting to see. There's already some videos out there, people playing them, but go and have a look. I'll put a link to Gibson's website so you can go and see what Gibson are up to, and they're back in the mandolin world. And that is it. As always, I sort of finish with what I've been listening to, and actually I've been diving back into Baylor's My Bluegrass Heart record. There's so much in there, so much music across 2 CDs, and so many people, and so much to get your ears around. And I had a listen when it came out and spent some time with it, but knowing that the tour is coming here in early 2024, and I'm going to get to see it. I've been listening to it again just to get my ears back into those tunes. There's so much good playing in there. It's just a wealth of extraordinary music. It's a headphones record for me. It's one of those where you can stick it on and you can get a bit lost in it, but also it's a really cool one to do a bit of detailed listening. I really just sit with it. So I've been doing that, and I imagine that'll be something that I'm doing next week and the week after as well. But yeah, I love that record. And that's it, really. That's all I've got for you this week. Check out part 2 of the Clarence White tribute coming out later in the week. In the meantime, have a great week, everybody, and happy picking. Bluegrass Jam Along is proud to be sponsored by Collings Guitars and Mandolins, making some of the finest guitars and mandolins in the world since the 1970s. Visit collingsguitars.com and find out why.